Hey guys, back again. This time with the cons video of TwitchCon. The pros video was only like 2 minutes long. Is genuinely there wasn't a lot of stuff that was done right. It was a standard convention for all intents and purposes for the average goer. But in a macro sense, a lot of stuff went wrong with the TwitchCon event. Just so many things went wrong. So many things could have potentially gone very wrong, and a lot of it needs to be addressed and talked about because wow, it was crazy. So obviously the main thing that we're gonna bring up first is on day one, within 3 hours of the event starting, one of Twitch's biggest streamers, Emiru, was assaulted. Some dude literally walked through and just was able to get physical with her, like make it to her, grab her before anyone was able to do anything. Before Emiru's personal security came, pushed him off, and then he just walked away. So let's break down into that, right? I'm sure everyone's seen the video. I don't have like editing software and I don't know how to edit. I'm gonna have to figure that out eventually, but I can't put the video in. But I'm sure you've seen it. So here's my concern with that, because I walked past that section, that meet and greet section, multiple times. It was a very large section, very squared off. So you got the barriers, the perimeter barriers. They had the little like usher lines, the little like retractable felt fucking things that just people walk in and out, zig and zag lines to make sure that they're in line. They're not getting out of place and cutting people. And then outside of that, you had other people that were doing their meet and greets as well. And then allegedly, you had Twitch security. So, what happened from that video was just pure negligence from every angle on Twitch. This dude walked by. He's a psychopath, first of all, but he walked in. Dude was like, from how the video looks, he was like 6'1". He weighed like 250 pounds. He was able to walk past the outdoor perimeter barrier. He was able to walk past a whole line of people that were already in line. He was able to make it past another person doing a meet and greet, past all of Twitch security, and made it directly to Emiru. He passed so many barriers, not being a small guy. Like, he wasn't a little leprechaun that was like bobbing and weaving through people's legs like nobody could see him. He was a big dude that kind of towered over people with a very like intense walk. You could tell that he was up to something nefarious as soon as he started moving. He was looking like he was Dio walking towards somebody. It was insane that nobody caught on to this body language and was like, this is a threat that needs to be stopped like in its tracks right now, which I personally think Twitch needs to be held liable for that. They need to get sued. In my opinion, personal opinion, Emiru's personal security shouldn't have been that far away to have allowed that to happen. I think he needs to be fired. And then after that, Emiru's a trooper because she went back. She was comforted a little bit by her own team, not Twitch, by her own team, and decided to finish the meet and greet and then had that press conference. And in that press conference stream that she did, it was a lot of like crazy stuff that was being revealed. Like, nobody was stopping them from. She said that Neon was able to just circumvent everything, walk through the back, and just come up to her, say, "Hey, what up?" And then she was going over how the tweet from Twitch itself was posted, and I don't want to get into her video, so you can go watch that one. But from my personal standpoint, the tweet from Twitch was very trying to be very PR friendly, but it came off very tone deaf, insensitive, and insincere. They couldn't even name her. They said an incident involving a high profile streamer. We all know who it was. We all know it was Emiru. We all saw what happened with our very own eyes. Like, we're not going to pull another Hassan situation where they're trying to rewrite everything we've seen with our own eyes. You need to start naming things. You need to be very deliberate with what you're saying. Like, hey, there was an incident involving Emiru, a high profile streamer. It was a lack in security on our end. We need to do better. We're going to do better. And then you need to make steps to do better, right? Like, that's what needs to happen. That PRBS tweet that they put out of, oh, there was there was a suspect that may have happened with a high profile streamer. Nobody knows who it is. Like we took the proper measures and they were apprehended immediately. Like, don't lie. Emiru put out a tweet that said that's just a blatant lie. There were a lot of people that could corroborate that. You can even see in the video. Twitch said in their tweet, "Oh, hey, we caught the guy immediately. He was banned indefinitely from Twitch and the TwitchCon and all of that." And in the video, you can watch it. He wasn't apprehended at all. He literally walked up, assaulted, got pushed back, walked away. Twitch security didn't come in. You couldn't hear nobody on the radio. You didn't hear nobody footsteps running. You didn't hear anything. You didn't see anything. There was no communication for anyone that was outside of Emiru's team. Like, they didn't care. If there wasn't a video, nobody would care. They would just say, kind of charge it to the game. What? Man, that's outrageous. And then they promised that they would up their security and do better. Again, in Emiru's video, if you want to go watch that, she states that nobody was reached out to. Specifically, Extra Emily wasn't reached out to, another very massive female creator. She wasn't reached out to about increased security. They didn't want to go through and reach out to other people to cancel their meet and greets or up the security or anything like that. The only person I know of that was at least contacted about extra security was FanFan. And she didn't even want the security, first of all, but they were kind of forcing it on her as a PR stunt to say, "Oh, hey, no, look, we really did take it seriously and we're going to update the security," that's again, virtue signaling. Stop it. You should have had the security in place already. You should have coordinated with your streamers a little bit more about who was going to be there, how they wanted their security to be handled, personal and venue-wide. And it just failed on every level of security. It failed. Everyone should be ashamed of what happened there, especially with the follow-up, because I went through that same area the next day and there was nothing. It did not increase. The security wasn't increased. There weren't more security guards. There weren't more people walking around patrolling. The lines weren't revamped. The way to get to the meet and greet stage itself wasn't revamped. There was nothing revamped about it. They literally just put out a tweet saying, "Yeah, we did better. Move on." That's all that they did with the security was, "Yeah, we're gonna do better." Anyways, can you forget about it so we don't have to do better? It's crazy. But moving on from that, right, outside of that, there was an overall lack of presence of security throughout the convention at all, right? So on the first floor, on the second floor, in the artist alley, outside, all of that, throughout the entirety of TwitchCon, I saw two, what the heck? My computer just flashed out. That's crazy. But through the entirety of TwitchCon, I saw two security guards. They were on the second floor. They just walked past to go to the artist alley, and I never saw them again. And that's the thing. They might not have been security. They might have just been cosplayers. And I think that's something that needs to change. And I'm going to do that in my next video for how TwitchCon needs to address this and how I feel like every convention should address what's going on, with the climate of the world and how to make just events safer, more friendly, and more accessible for everybody. But those were the only two that I saw. There was not sufficient barriers for things to go through. There wasn't sufficient security checks for things to go through. And there's another video that's out there where at the Twitch block party, when you pass the security gates, right, they had one on the north end, one on the south end. Once you go through there was nothing else in there. You were in there, you could do whatever you want. There was a Gaslamp District souvenir shop that was selling just wholehearted knives. They were just selling switchblades out there. And anybody could go up. They were open. You could go up. You could walk in there, purchase a knife, and walk out and be armed in a very crowded area where it'd be very easy to just keep your arms down and then just like that, and then just keep on walking away. That way somebody feels like, "Oh, somebody punched me," and then they look up and they're covered in blood and they don't know what happened. And there wasn't supposed to be any live streaming or filming in there, so it would have been very easy for things to get away with, especially because it was outside. It would have been very difficult and for them to be identified, as well as being very easy for the assailant to just slip away and just stab somebody, I'm go. And they could have been gone, and nobody would have ever been the wiser. It was just ridiculous. The ease of getting into the venue, there's been a lot of videos of people just kind of like scanning their wristband haphazardly and just not like being thoroughly like accepted by the system, and security just you know what, you have the wristband close enough, just go through. There's also a very I don't want to say I hate this person, but there's a streamer that I don't like that just was walking through and security tried to stop them, and they just said, "Hey, we're with S-Fan's team." And security was like, "Oh, word? That's all you. Go on ahead, do what you got to do." No verification, no security checks, no nothing. They just said, "We're with S-Fan." Security said, "Cool. Go on with your bad self. Walk on through and call it a day." And that's it. Like it's that easy to just get into places. You could go up to any of the Twitch security staff, say, "Hey, I'm with Emiru. Hey, I'm with Cinna. Hey, I'm with Arky, Yugi, Bonnie, S-Fan. I'm with any of these people." And they just say, "Oh yeah, word, word, word." Anyways, they're over there. You know what I'm saying? There's no other security back there, so you got full range. Just you're part of the team, so they should know who you are. If you start walking up on them, don't even worry about it. Have a good day. And they just leave. And like I said this in my last video with the pros, how easy it was to get into the venue. They made it too easy. Like, you got to the venue, you had to go through gate B to get in, to get your wristband and just to enter the venue. As soon as you pulled up, if you didn't have a backpack, you just walked through, which I get it. They had the metal detectors. The metal detectors weren't very tall, so if you were a tall person, if you had like a hat on, it was over. Didn't have to take off your hat or anything. You could have hid something under there and called it a day. Nobody would ever know. If you got the wristband immediately, and then they just walked through. I didn't even have to scan thinking about it, I didn't even have to scan the wristband as soon as I got it. I literally went up there, picked up the wristband and the lanyard, and I walked through. You're supposed to scan to get into the venue again. Even after you initially get your wristband, you're supposed to scan. Didn't have to do that. If I just walked up and then just cut under the line, because there was no security in that room either. There was no streaming in that area either. So yeah, literally anybody could have rushed in there, and oh wells. It's just so much lapses were made that were very easily preventable, right? And then the way that they handle stuff, especially with the Q&A that Dan Clancy did, where a veteran said, "Hey man, there's been some stuff on your streams or some stuff on your website where people have said like Army vets deserve PTSD and just crazy stuff like that. And Army vets are a protected class. So are we going to do anything about that?" And Dan Clancy just essentially said, "Hey, yeah, thanks for your service. I see some stuff on my timeline. Sometimes things are like that. We have a unban system. They'll handle it. Next." And it's like, what? What? Or when he had an interview with Taylor Lorenz, who's a hack. She's a fraud. And somebody asked about the Emiru situation, and he said, "Oh yeah, that was her fault." What? What are you talking about? It was her fault. You let a 6'1", 250-pound dude walk past all of your security while you was out partying, trying to be an influencer instead. Just assault one of your biggest streamers that makes you a lot of money. Just saying, she makes you a lot of money. That's what you like. That seems like that's what you like and care about. And you just jeopardize that because you wanted to party out. And then you say it's her fault. That's crazy. That's crazy. Anything to go through. That's just insane. And it's just, nobody was safe. It was genuinely like the honor system. That's how they did the security at TwitchCon, is they did an honor system where if We hope you're a good person. Go on in. Are you a good person? Yeah, sure. That's matter of fact. We're not gonna have security by any of the big people. They're over there. Just walk up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what, man? It's all bad. It's just all bad, man. Like, I saw a tweet that just put it correctly. They said TwitchCon was like a movie, just a really bad movie, because everything went wrong in the most anticipatable ways, and they still decided to just say, "Hey, this is a good direction for it. Everyone sees this coming." Except for the directors, the ones that are in charge of making sure that it's supposed to be not like that. And it was all bad. But that's kind of my take on just some things that went wrong. And then in the next one, I'm going to go over just how I think con should be handled in general. Like, this, it's just going to be, it'll be focused on TwitchCon, but it'll just be blatant blanket. Like, this is how I feel like convention should be handled. And then I might do one more about how Twitch should be handled, because it needs to change. But I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So, yep,